Hello everybody, welcome to Africa Online. Today we bring you the story of South Sudanese model Nykhor. Nykhor was born in Akobo, a village in South Sudan. She was born during war and her name literally means girl born in war. She escaped with her family to Ethiopia, where she grew up as a refugee and later moved to the United States. She has appeared in campaigns for renowned designers such as Louis Vuitton, Vivienne Westwood, to name a few. She once said that being a supermodel made her feel guilty, and that she felt guilty for being in an environment where people were popping champagne bottles worth $5,000 to party. Before escaping to Ethiopia with her family, they lived in Akobo, where she slept on the floor, was naked most of the time with beads around, barefoot, and lived in a thatched house. She grew up in a multi-ethnic South Sudan made up of 64 tribes, where their unifying language was Arabic, but each tribe still had its own dialect. Their village had no electricity, they had no phones, nor toys, and all those perks that come with modern-day life. They led a simple life. Her mom had a garden, they would go fishing in the Nile River. Her dad was a pastor and a well-respected member of the community. In South Sudan, cows are a symbol of wealth. Therefore, the more cows you have, the richer you are. But things went down south when the same symbol of wealth, cattle, turned into a source of hostility between rival tribes. Young girls were married off in exchange for more cattle, because girls are interchangeable just like that. She said that was always a fearful thing, to be given away in exchange for cattle. When war sparked, she was worried about houses being burnt down, which they did. Some people's houses got burnt down. Tribes were forced to cross rivers in large groups. War broke out between the tribes. As a child, she witnessed bodies floating on rivers, kids drowning, among other horrific things. And as a child, it never made sense to her how a close-knit group of people living with 20,000 people who looked like her were killing each other. When the tribal war started brewing in 1995, they fled South Sudan and embarked on a long trek, crossed the Nile River all the way to Ethiopia, where they lived in a refugee camp. Unfortunately, her father remained behind with her grandmother, who was unable to make the journey. Women and children were escorted by a group of male volunteers. On their way, they encountered men with guns who started poking women and their bags. They were held at gunpoint and were told they were not going to let them cross the river. They told them they either go back where they came from or they kill them. But one of the guys was looking at Nykhor's mother. He told her he knew her from somewhere, and her mother replied, "I know you from somewhere too." They used to play together as kids. He then tells the other guys with guns, "I know this woman. Take this woman and her kids from that group." They managed to make it to Ethiopia, but they only asked for her mother and her 3 kids, so she had to leave her friends. Nykhor said she doesn't know what happened to those people they left behind. Either they got back to Akobo or they got killed. You would think getting into a refugee camp was easy, but it wasn't. They had to fight to get in, to register as family members, then get a card from the United Nations as legal identification that they were refugees. Every month, they would get them food in relation to the number of their family. For example, if you are a family of 6, you would get 6 scoops of food. They lived in a refugee camp for several years until an opportunity presented itself for political asylum in the US. They missed the first opportunity because their family was too big to go, meaning they didn't meet the terms and conditions as a specific number was required. Then another chance came for her uncle and wife to go to the US, so her father said that she can go with her uncle because she will have a better life. In 1998, when she was 9 years old, she left her mother and family for New York. She says she didn't want to go. She wanted to stay with her family. She was so scared and sad. Her next destination was Houston, Texas.